Weekend, God knows. It's the most kindest thing of all, having a relaxing weekend and not do anything crazy. Carrying on with Little House of the Prairie, right here in my home in ElizabethTown. Check it out. Anybody ever seen the show Little House of the Prairie? Michael Landon, God bless him, the whole family. It's based on the book. Carrying on, her pink cheeks and blue eyes and golden hair all made of China. Then P.A. and Ma, Mary, and Laura stood and admired that fireplace. Only Carrie did not care about it. She pointed at the little China woman and yelled when Mary and Laura told her that no one but Ma could touch it. You'll have to be careful with your fire, Caroline, Pa said. We don't want sparks going out the chimney to set the roof on fire. That cloth will burn easy. I'll split out some clapboards as soon as I can and make a roof you won't have to worry about. So Ma carefully built a little fire in the new fireplace, and she roasted a pear and for supper, and that evening they ate in the house. They sat at a table by the western window. Pa had quickly made a table of two slabs of oak. One end of the slab stuck in a crack over the walls, another end rested on a short upright logs. Pa had smoothed the slabs with his axe, and the table was very nice when Ma spread a cloth over it. The chairs were chunks of big logs. Floors was on the earth, and Ma had swept clean with her willow brought brooms on the floor. Was the earth and Ma had swept clean with her willow broom on the floor, and the corners of the beds were near under the patchwork quilt. The rays of the setting came through the window. Waves of the setting came through the window and filled the house with a golden light outside. And far away to the pink edge of the sky, the wind went blowing where wild grasses waved. Inside the house was pleasant. The good roast chicken was juicy in Laura's mouth. Her hands and face were washed, her hair was combed, her napkin was tied around her neck. She sat straight on the round end of the log and used her knife and fork nicely as Ma had taught her. She did not say anything because children must not speak at table until they are spoken to. But she looked at Pa and Ma and Mary and baby Carrie in Ma's lap, and she felt contented. It was nice to be in a living house again. A roof and a floor. All day long, every day, Laura and Mary were busy. When the dishes were washed and the beds made, there was always plenty to do, to see, and to listen to. They hunted for birds' nests in the tall grass. And when they found them, the mother bird squawked and scolded. Sometimes they touched the nest gently, and on an instant, nest full of drowned nests became a nest full of wild, gapping beaks. Hungry squawking, then the mother bird scolded like anything. And Mary and Laura quietly went away because they did not want to worry her too much. In the tall grass they laid still as mice and watched the flocks of the little prairie chickens running and pecking around their anxiously clucking smooth brown mother. They watched stripped snakes rippling between the grass stems or lying so still that only the tiny flickering tongues and glittering eyes showed that they were alive. They were garter snakes and would not hurt anybody, but Laura and Mary did not touch them. Mom said snakes were best left alone because some snakes would bite, and it was better to be safe than sorry. And sometimes there'd be great rabbits so still in the lights and shadows of a grass clump that you weren't enough to top him before you saw him. Then if you were very quiet, you might stand a long time looking at him. His brown eyes stared at yours without meaning anything. His nose wriggled, and sunlight was rose through his long ears that had dedicated veins in them, and the softest short fur on their outsides. The rest of his fur was so thick and soft that at last you couldn't help trying very carefully to touch. Then he was gone, and a flash in the places where he had been sitting was hollowed and smooth and still warm from his warm behind. All the times, of course, Laura or Mary were minding David Carey, except when she had an afternoon nap. Then they sat and looked in the sunshine and the wind until Laura forgot that baby was asleep. She jumped up and ran and shouted till Ma came to the door and said, "Dear me, Laura, must you yell like an Indian? I declare," Ma said, "if you girls aren't getting to look like Indians, can I never teach you to keep your sunbonnets on?" Pa was up on the house wall beginning the roof. He looked down at them and laughed. "One little Indian, two little Indians, three little Indians," he sang softly. "No, only two. You make three," Mary said to him. "You're brown too." "But you aren't little, Pa," said Laura. "Pa, when we were going to see Papa's." "Goodness," Ma explained. "What do you want to see an Indian baby for? Put on your sunbonnet now and forget such nonsense." Laura's sunbonnet hung down on her back. She pulled it up by strings, and its side came back. Her cheeks, when her sunbonnet was on, she could see only what was in front of her, and that was why she was always pushing back and letting it hang by its string tied around her throat. She put her on sunbonnet, and when Ma told her to, but she did not forget the poplars. This was an Indian country, and she didn't know why she didn't see any. She knew she would see them sometimes through Pa said so, but she was getting tired of waiting. Pa had taken the canvas wagon top off the house, and now he was ready to put the roof on for 4 days, and he had been hauling logs in the creek bottoms and splitting them into 10 long slabs. Piles of slabs lay all around the house, and slabs stood against it. "Come out of the house, Caroline," he said. "I don't want to risk anything falling on your house or Carrie." "Wait, child, till I put away the china." So I put away the china, Japanese Ma answered. In a minute she buried Carrie. She spread the quilt on the shady grass by the stable and sat there to do her mending and watch Carrie play. Pa reached down, pulled up the slab. He laid it across the ends of the sapling rafters. It struck her beyond the wall. Then Pa put some nails in his mouth and took his hammer out of his belt and began to nail the slabs to the rafters. Mr. Edwards had lent him the nails they had met in the woods, and where they were both chopping down trees. And Mr. Edwards had insisted that Pa borrow a nail from the road. "That was what I call a good near," Pa said. When he told Ma about it, "Yes," said Ma, "but I don't like to be beholden, not even to the best of your neighbors." "No, Pa replied. "I never been beholden to any man yet, and never will be, but neighborless. No the matter, and I'll pay him back every nail as soon as I can make the trip to Independence." Now Pa carefully took the nails one by one from his mouth, and with the ringing blows of the hammer he drove them into the slab. It was much quicker than drilling holes and whittling pegs and driving them into the holes. But every now and then nails sprang away from the tough oak when the hammer hit it, and Pa was not holding it firmly. It went sailing through the air. Then Mary and Laura watched it fall, and they searched in the grass till they found it. Sometimes it was bent. Then Pa carefully pounded it straight. It would never do to lose or waste a nail. When Pa nailed down 2 slabs, he got up on them and he laid and nailed more slabs all the way up the top of the rafters. The edge of each slab lapped over the edge of the slab below it. Then he began again on the other side of the house, and he laid the roof all the way up from that side. A little crack was left behind the high slab. So Pa made a little trough of 2 slabs, and he nailed this trough firmly upside down over the crack. The roof was done. The house was darker than it had been because no light came through the slabs. There was not one single crack that would let rain come in. "You had done a splendid job, Charles," Mom said, "and I'm thankful to have a good roof over my head. You shall have furniture, too, as fine as I can make it," Pa replied. "I'll make a bedstead." As soon as the floor lay, he began again to haul logs day after day. He hauled logs. He did not even stop hauling logs. To go hunting, he took his gun on the wagon and brought back at night whatever meat he had shot from the wagon. When he had hauled enough logs to make the floor, he began to split them. He split each log straight down the middle. Laura liked to sit on the wood pile and watched him. When he had hauled enough logs to make the floor, he began to split them. He split each log straight down the middle. Laura liked to sit on the pile and watched him again. First in with the mighty blow of his axe, and he split the butt of the log into the crack. He split it in edge of an iron wedge. Then he wrenched the axe out of the log, and he drove the wedge deeper in the crack. The tough wood split a little farther. All the way up the log, Paul fought that tough oak. He struck with an axe into the crack. He drove blocks of wood into it and moved. The iron wedge higher little by little. He followed the crack up the log. He swung the axe high and brought it down with a great swing and a grunt from his chest. The axe whizzed and struck plunge. Always struck exactly where Pa wanted it to. At last, with a tearing cracking around, the whole log split. Its two halves lay on the ground, showing the tree paws and tail and sides, and a darker streak up its middle. Then Paul wiped the sweat from his forehead. He took a fresh grip on the axe, and he tackled another log. One day the last log was split, and the next morning Paul began to lay the floor. He dragged the logs into the house and laid them one by one, flat side out. With his spade he scraped the ground and fitted the round side of the log firmly down into it. With his axe he trimmed away from the edge of the bark and cut the wood straight so that each log fitted against the next with a hardly crack between them. Then he took the head of the axe in the hand, and with little careful blows he smoothed the wood. He squinted along the logs to see the surface was straight and true. He took off. Last little bits here and here. Finally he ran over the smoothness, not a splinter. He said, "That'll be all right for a little barefoot feet run over." He left that log fitted into it and placed it and dragged in another. When he came to the fireplace, he used the shorter logs. He left the space of bare earth for earth, and so that when sparks of coal popped out of the fire, they would not burn the floor. One day the floor was done. It was smooth and firm and hard, and a good floor, solid oak that would last. Paul said, "For her, you can't bear a good punching floor." He said, Ma, she was glad to be up off the dirt. She put the little China woman on the mantel shelf and spread a red check cloth until. "There," she said, "now we're living like civilized folks again." After that, Paul filled the cracks in the walls. He drove them strips off wood into them and plastered them, well, with mud filling every chink. "That's a good job," Ma said. "That's chinking." You see that? That's how the log cabin's looking. From the inside. "We'll keep out the wind no matter how hard it blows." Pa stopped listening to him, smiled at her. Sat down between the logs and smothered down the bucket of the last house. She said, "I wish we had a glass for the windows," Paul said. "We don't need glass, Charles," said Ma, "just the same. If I do well with my hunting and trapping this winter, I'm going to get some glass in Independence next spring," said Pa, "and hang the expense." "Glass windows would be nice if we can't afford them," Ma said, "but we'll cross the bridge when we come to it." They were all happy that night. The fire on the hearth was pleasant, for on the high prairie, even the summer nights were cool. The red check cloth was on the table, and the little china woman glimmered on the mantel shelf. The new floor was golden in the flickering firelight. Outside, the night was large and full of stars. Paul sat for a long time in the doorway and played his fiddle and sang to Mom and Mary and Laura in the house into the starry night outside. Indians in the house. Early one morning, Paul took his gun and went hunting. He had meant to make the bedstead that day, and he brought his slabs when Ma said no meat for dinner. So he stood on the slabs again the wall and took down his gun. Jack wanted to go hunting too. His eyes begged Paul to take him, and words came up from his chest and quivered in his throat till Laura almost cried with him, but Paul chained him to the table. "No, Jack," Paul said, "you must stay here. Guard the place." Then he said to Ma and Laura, "Don't let him loose, girls." Poor Jack lay down. It was a disgrace to be chained, and he felt it deeply. He turned his head from Pa and would not watch him going away with the guns on his shoulder. Pa went farther Till the prairie swallowed him and he was gone. Laura tried to comfort Jack, but he would not be comforted. The more he thought about it, the worse he felt. Laura tried to cheer him up as to frisk and play, but he only grew more sullen. Both Mary and Laura felt that they would not leave Jack while he was so unhappy. So all that morning they stayed by the table. They stroked Jack's smooth, brindled head and scratched around his ears and told him how. Sorry that they were that. He must be changed. He lapped their hands a little bit, but he was very sad and angry. And he was on Laura. He was on Laura's knee, and she was talking to him. When suddenly he stood up and growled a fierce, deep growl. The hair on his neck stood straight up, and his eyes glared red. Laura was frightened. Jack had never growled at her before. Then she looked over her shoulder where Jack was looking, and she saw two naked wild men coming, one by the other, and he trailed. Mary looked. She cried. Mary looked and saw them too. They were tall, thin, fierce-looking men. Their skin was brown red. Their heads seemed brownish red. Their heads seemed to grow up to peak, and the peak was a true tuft of hair that was stood straight up and ended in his feathers. Their eyes were black and still glittering, the little snake eyes. They came closer and closer. Then they went outside, sight on the other side of the house. Laura had turned, and so did Mary. And they took on the place where those terrible men would appear when they came past the house. Indians, Mary whispered. Laura was shivering. There was a queer feeling in her middle and the bones in her legs felt weak back then. She wanted to sit down, but she stood and looked and waited for those Indians to come out from beyond the house. Indians did not do that. All this time, Jack had been growling. Now he stopped growling, and he was lunging in it in his chains. His eyes were red, and his lips curled back, and all the hair on his back was bristling. He bound, cleared off the ground, trying to get loose from the chain. Laura was glad that the chain kept him right there with her. Jack's here, she whispered to Mary. Jack won't let them hurt us. We'll be safe if we stay close to Jack. They are in the house, Mary whispered. They are in the house with Ma and Carrie. Then Laura began to shake all over. She knew she must be doing something. She did not know what those Indians were doing to Mom, baby Carrie. There was no sound at all from the house. What they are doing to Mom, she screamed in a whisper. Oh, I don't know, Mary whispered. I'm going to let Jack loose. Laura whispered hoarsely. Jack will kill them, Pa said to him. Mary answered. They were too scared to speak out loud. They put their heads together and watched the house and whispered. He didn't know Indians would come. Laura said. He said not to let Jack loose. Mary was almost crying. Laura thought a little baby carrying Ma should announce with those Indians. She said, I'm going in to help Mom. She ran 2 steps and walked a step. Then she turned and flew back to Jack. She clutched him wildly and hung on to them strong, panting that Jack wouldn't let anything hurt her. We mustn't leave Ma and her in there alone, Mary whispered. She stood still and trembled. Mary never could move when she was frightened. Laura hid her face against Jack and held him to him tightly. Then she made her arms let go, her hands balled into fists, her eyes shut tight, and she ran toward the house as fast as she could run. She stumbled and fell down, and her eyes popped open. She was up against the running before she could think. Mary was close behind. They came close, the door was open, they slipped into the house without a sound. The naked wild men stood by the fireplace. Ma was bending over the fire and cooking something. Carrie clung to the monster with both hands, and her eyes were hidden in the folds. Laura ran toward Ma, but just as she reached the hearth, she smelled a horribly bad smell, and she looked up at the Indians. Quick as a flash, she ducked against the long, narrow slabs that leaned against the wall. The slab was just wide enough to cover both of their eyes. She held her head perfectly still and pressed her nose against the slab. She couldn't see the Indians. She felt safer, but she couldn't help moving her head just as little, so the one eye peeped out, and she could see the wild men. First she saw their leather moccasins, then stringy bare red-brown legs all the way up around the waist. Each Each of the Indians wore a leather thong, and the furry skin of a small animal hung down in front of the fur was stripped black and white. Now Laura knew what made that smell. The skins were fresh skunk skins, and knife and a hatchet like Paul's hatchet were stuck into each skunk skin. The Indians' ribs made little ridges up their sides. Their arms were folded on their chest, and at last Laura looked again at their faces, and she dodged quickly behind the slab. Their faces were bold, fierce, and terrible. The black eyes glittered high on there. You see that? God bless. That's how it was back in the days. Proud Indians, too. Sometimes they come over for a visit. You ever seen Dances with Wolves? Kind of like that back then. Foreheads and above their ears. Where the grows, these wild men had no hair, but on top of their heads, the top of their hair stood straight up. It was wound around with string. The feathers were stuck in. When Laura peeked out from behind the slab against both Indians, were looking straight at her. Her heart jumped in her throat and choked her with its pounding. Two black eyes glittered. Two black eyes glittered down in her eyes. The Indian did not move. Not one muscle of his face moved. Only his eyes shone and sparkled at her. Laura didn't move either. She didn't even breathe. The Indians made two short, harsh sounds in his throat. The other Indians made new ones around her, like hum. One sounded like hum. Laura hid her eyes behind the slab again. She heard Ma take the cover off the bake oven. She heard the Indians squat down on the hearth. After a while, she heard them eating. Laura peeked and hid and peeked again while the Indians ate the cornbread that Ma had baked. They ate every morsel of it and even picked up the crumbs from the hearth. Ma stood and watched them stroke Baby Carrie head. Mary stood close behind Ma and held it on her sleeve. Very Laura heard Jack's chain rattle, and Jack was still trying to get it loose. When every crumb of the cornbread was gone, the Indians rose up. The skunk smell was stronger. When they moved, one of them made a hard sound in his throat again. Ma looked at him with big eyes. She did not say anything. The Indians turned around. The other Indians turned too, and they walked across the floor and out through the door. Their feet made no sound at all. Ma sighed a long sigh. She hugged Laura tight, one arm, Mary tight in the other arms. And through the window they watched those Indians going away, one down another. On a dim trail toward the west, them all sat down on their bed and hugged Laura. Mary tighter and trembled. She looked sick. Do you feel sick, Ma? Mary asked. No, said Ma. I'm just thankful they're gone. That was the skunk skins they wore, Ma said. Then they told her how they had left Jack to come into the house because they were afraid the Indians would hurt her. And Baby Carrie, Ma said, they were her brave little girls. Now we must get dinner, she said. Paul will be here soon. We must have dinner ready for him. Mary, bring me some wood, Laura, and you may set the table. Ma rolled up her sleeves and washed her hands and mixed the cornbread while Mary brought the wood and Laura sat at the table. She set a tin plate and knife and fork and cup from the pond, and the same for Ma, with Carrie's little tin cup beside Ma, and she set tin plates and knives and forks for her and Mary, but only there one cup between the plates. Ma made the cornmeal, water, and two thin loaves, each shaped in a half circle. She laid the loaves with her straight sides together in her baked oven. She pressed her hand flat on top of each loaf. Pa always said, do not ask any other sweet. When Ma asked, put the prints on her hands on the loaves. Laura had hardly sat at the table when Pal was there. He left a big rabbit and two prairie hens outside the door and stepped in and laid his guns on his plate. Laura and Mary ran and clutched him, both talking at once. What's all this? What's all this? She said, rumbling their hair. Indians, so you've never seen Indians at last? Yeah, Laura, I noticed they have a camp in the little valley west of here. Indians come in the house, Caroline. Yes, Charles, 2 of them. Ma said, I'm sorry, but they took all your tobacco and they ate little cornbread they poured into the cornmeal. They made no sign for me. It's a good son. I was afraid not to. Oh, Charles, I was afraid. You did the right thing, Paul told her. We didn't want to make enemies of any Indians. Then he said, woo, what a smell. They wore fresh skunk skins, said Ma. And that was all they were. Pierre Paul said, it was Charles. We were short of cornmeal, too. Oh, well, we have enough to hold out a while yet. Our meat is running. All the country don't worry, Caroline, but they took all your tobacco. Never mind, Paul said. I'll get along with our tobacco till I can make the trips to Independence. The main thing is to be on good terms with the Indians. We don't want to wake up some nights with the band of the Screeching Jeff. He stopped Laura dreadfully, wanted to know what we had been going to say. But Ma's lips were pressed together, and she took a little shake of her head at Paul. Come on, Mary, said Laura. Paul said, we'll skin that rabbit and dress the prairie hens while the cornbread breaks. Hurry, I'm hungry as a wolf. They sat in the wood fire the wind, and Sunshine watched Paul work with his hunting knife. The big rabbit was shot through the eye, and the prairie hens' heads were shot clean away. They never knew that hit them, Paul said. Laura held the edge of the rabbit skins while Paul's keen knife ripped it off the rabbit's ear. That's what they had for dinner. I'll salt the skin and peg it out on the house wall to dry. Said it will make a warm fur cap for him and a little girl to wear next winter. But Lois could not forget the Indians. She said to Paul that if they had turned Jack loose, he would have eaten those Indians right up. Paul laid down the knife. Did you girls even think of turning Jack loose? He asked in her dreadful voice. Laura had bowed down and she whispered, yes, Paul, after I told you not to. Paul said in a more dreadful voice. Laura couldn't speak, but Mary choked, yes, Paul. For a moment, Paul was silent. He sighed a long sigh. That long sigh after the news went away. After this, he said it was a terrible voice. You girls, remember, always do as you're told. Don't even know you think of disobeying me. Don't even you hear. Yes, Paul, Lois and Mary whispered. Do you know what would have happened if you had turned Jack loose, Paul asked. No, Paul, they whispered. He would have bitten those Indians, said Paul. Then there would have been trouble. Bad trouble. Do you understand? Yes, Paul, they said, but they did not understand. Would they have killed Jack, Laura asked. Yes, and that's not all. You girls remember this. You do it as you're told, no matter what happens. Yes, Paul, Laura said Paul. And Mary said, yes, Paul, they were glad they had not turned Jack loose. Do you as you're told, said Paul. No harm will come to you. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to say some prayers for you kids. God knows you need a lot of prayers. And if you're living here at Fort Knox and just arrived, be sure to stop at the General Pat Museum on Fort Knox. See the signs alongside the road. It'll direct you to Fort Knox with your parents. It's free. It don't cost nothing. Walk in, donate even. Keep the museum going. Even a mail postcard and courtesy of Bar Rock. Keeping them going. We even have story time. Check it out. For listening to more information, also supporting Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. God bless y'all and all you some cookies once in a while on base, especially at the BX. I'll be sure to help you out when I can, even in prayers. God bless you. And just remember, I'll say in your prayers that the good Lord cares for you. So now he laid me down to sleep, my soul to keep. My soul to keep. May God watch over my family night and day, and my friends, and those without parents. May God help me find one worthy of me. And here's my address for all those who want to ride. That's right. Or Facebook. Ta-da. 328 Helm Street, Elizabethtown, Kentucky, 42701. I lay me down to sleep. God watch over you. May He watch over your health. And remember, most of all, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. Remember, the kids, life is a journey, best shared, never alone. Like that country song, a Care Bear Cares. For everyone, no journeys I ever shared alone. Even country singers know that Care Bear cares night and day, keeping them employed. This song for Dollywood. To ask your family to take you to Dollywood sometime. They got roller coaster rides. Walt Disney. God bless them. Watching Walt Disney movies on weekends on ABC Family. Much love. Up next, some for us great adults to teenagers. That's right, Miss Redhead Fergie Confidential. Saying Care Bear I bring close to my heart, even at my church.